I've had endless debates and conversations with all sorts of people about evolution. While in the moment some of those conversations were infuriating to say the least, they were also enlightening. They helped me get super familiar with the typical ways people misunderstand evolution. And in this video, I will share the top 3 ways I've witnessed most people, even those without a religious agenda, misunderstand the basic fundamentals of evolution. Misunderstanding 1. The Great Evolutionary Ladder. Whether born out of our egos or just a basic lack of proper education, a lot of us ended up with the wrong interpretation of the tree of life. Science revealed to us the historical account of how living things evolved from some primitive state to the modern forms we witness today. But in doing so, and in painting that picture, it accidentally misled many into totally misunderstanding the bigger picture here. We were told the story of how life essentially started from extremely simple self-replicating chemicals and gradually evolved throughout the ages, step by step, into the creatures we see today. Life went from single-celled organisms to multicellular to invertebrates to fish-like vertebrates to early land vertebrates to mammals to early apes to people, in that general order. The trouble is that this picture makes it look like humans are the final product in the long line of evolving creatures in our evolutionary history, as though people are the final product of the process. It kind of makes it seem like, say, if you are a fish, you are less evolved than a monkey, for example. But the reality is that the process of evolution constantly branches off into new species while never stopping the evolution of the existing ones. It is not like when fish-like vertebrates and early land vertebrates branched off, the fishes vowed to stop evolving. They kept evolving for just as long since then and evolved into the modern-day fishes we see. So when you look at a modern fish and an amphibian, for an example, you're looking at 2 creatures who are both the most evolved creatures. There is no ladder in evolution, and every modern-day creature you come across, whether some seemingly insignificant bacteria or an incredibly handsome and super smart human like me, we are all at our most evolved state. We just happen to have evolved along very different branches in the evolutionary tree. This brings us to the next misunderstanding. Misunderstanding 2. Evolution, the great designer. To get you up to speed with this one, let's read this Reddit post together. The title asks, "Why didn't humans evolve to process salt water?" The author of the post makes the case that the earth is full of salt water, so why didn't evolution make us be able to drink it? This question is not unique in the sense that similar questions are asked all the time. They are in general in the format of, why didn't evolution just do X? There is a huge unwarranted assumption behind that question. That faulty assumption is that evolution, like a designer, is trying to make something. It isn't. There is no entity sat there planning it out and executing the plans based on some requirements and a blueprint to fulfill those requirements. Evolution is a consequence of natural selection and random genetic mutations. Those 2 things work together to give some members of a population a survival and reproductive advantage over others. That naturally results in their descendants making up an ever-increasing share of the overall population over time. Nobody is architecting this. In fact, this process is so blind that sometimes a species simply may have no features that help it survive. In fact, most species of life forms that ever lived went extinct precisely because life on Earth depends on this blind process without a designer ensuring survival. Maybe the following analogy will help those who still don't get it. Think about a trail created by people repeatedly walking along the same path over some field. We do it all the time and make bald patches of dead grass on our trail and manage to carve out the most frequently used path from point A to point B. That path may not have the perfect width, that path may curve more than needed, that path isn't paved for sure. It just emerged out of an unguided natural process. Now imagine someone looking at that path and asking why the trail-making process didn't make this trail have a nice paved surface. That'd have been nice. It didn't make you a nice paved surface for the same reason evolution didn't give us all the fancy abilities people keep asking about. These processes are blind natural processes with no foresight or plan to turn one thing into another desired thing. This brings us to the third annoying misunderstanding. Misunderstanding 3. Survival of the fittest. I don't know who to blame for this misunderstanding, but somebody needs to call it out. The phrase survival of the fittest has been so overused while emphasizing one's physical dominance over somebody else that it now gets wildly misunderstood when used to explain evolution. I've even had people trying to point out to me that evolution cannot be right because the strong don't always win. Their confusion about survival of the fittest is because of what I just said about the physical dominance thing. In evolutionary biology, the term fitness does not refer to a specific trait like physical strength. It is about how fit an organism is for survival in the condition it finds itself in. For example, a bird is not fit underwater. So if everything went underwater, creatures who live in water would be much fitter than a bird and therefore survive. This does not mean that the bird is unfit in general or weak. This just describes the fitness relative to the specific circumstance of being a bird, having all bird features, but finding yourself underwater. An annoying thing about this misunderstanding is that I've often seen people pair this one with the first misunderstanding we spoke about. They walk the earth telling themselves that they are human beings, the fittest of all creatures ever, which is a nonsensical thing to say once you understand what fitness actually refers to in this context. If you've reached this far, please consider helping me fight these misunderstandings by commenting, liking the video, and subscribing. This has been the Scientist. See you in the next video.